property. So they've decided, let's say, in Arizona, the most common one is the trustee sale. They're going to purchase property at a trustee sale. A trustee sale can happen on the courtroom steps, or it could happen at the trustees' conference room at their office, wherever essentially they've designated where that's going to be. So you've shown up and you're ready to just make a killing and get the best deal ever at a trustee sale. But there's pitfalls. There's things we want you to be aware of. So let's talk about trustee sales first. What I would call kind of a first major pitfall, but not understanding lien priority. Why don't you explain that?
Yeah, and not understanding lien priority is actually a pitfall under both a sheriff
Sure.
sale and a trustee sale. But in the trustee sale context, you have to understand, what lien are you buying? I've had clients who have gone to trustee sales. They've purchased or they were the winning bidder at the trustee sale. They provided their check to the trustee of the initial $10,000, and then they've come in with the remaining amount, and they now have a trustee's deed, and they're thinking, hey, we have an amazing deal here, right? We bought this for $50,000. This is awesome.
They're already counting their money.
They're counting their money. And then they receive in the mail a notice of trustee sale. And they say, well, wait a minute, a notice of trustee sale. Why am I receiving a notice of trustee sale? And then they come to me and we sit down and we do a little bit of research on the property. And I inform them of the idea of lien priority and say, well, wait a minute here. Did you know you were buying a second position lien that was being foreclosed? Did you realize that that's what you were bidding on? And that there's this first position lien out there for X amount of dollars, say 300,000, that's out there. And now they're going to foreclose. Now, hopefully in an appreciating market, not the end of the world. There's certain things that can be done, such as reinstating the loan. You have a right as a subsequent owner of the property, as a successor in interest to the property, or even as a second position lien holder. You have the right to reinstate that loan balance, and you have a right to make monthly payments and to keep that loan current. You have a right to pay it off. So if the property is worth 50,000, you put in not 50, 500,000. You've put in 50. The other lender is owed 300, and you sell it. I mean, you're going to do okay, and you were right in counting your money. It's just not as much as you thought you were going to receive, right? But if you don't understand lien priority and don't understand, what you're actually purchasing, that's a problem. Another instance of this is HOA liens and HOA assessments. And so you think, okay, well, I know that I'm buying a second position loan, but the only thing ahead of me is the first position lender at 300,000 and the property is worth 500. So if I can get it for, 50 grand, I'm golden. Well, HOAs have priority, and their outstanding assessments have priority to second position deeds of trust. They're junior to first position deeds of trust, but they're senior to second position deeds of trust. And so all of a sudden now you're served with a lawsuit from the HOA, and they're in the process of foreclosing their HOA lien. And you're like, wait a minute, the HOA says, the outstanding assessments plus attorney's fees and all of this, stuff is 30 grand. Do I have to pay that, or did my purchase at the sale wipe that out? Well, if you bought a second position lien, no, you're on the hook for that 30. So once again, you're still going to, if my numbers, play out where it's worth 500, first position is 300, you bought it for 50 and the HOA is owed 30, you're still going to come out ahead, but just not as much. But if those margins are smaller, you may not come out ahead, and you may have spent $50,000 to buy a property that you might receive zero on. So you just have to understand lien priority. And here's the thing. Right now in this market, at least right now, chances are if you bought a second position loan, there's still equity. But chances are you're not going to be able to buy a second position loan because there's not much foreclosure activity, right? Where we're going to see the foreclosure activity is when there is depreciation and failure to make loan payments, and all of a sudden the property is not worth as much. That's when you're going to see it. So then now it's really important, because that's when you're going to have opportunities to buy properties at foreclosure sales, but it's going to be important to understand lien priority and know, what else is out there that's going to take priority that I'm going to have to pay before I see a dime from this property.